if the queen's not even there. And then that'll be a problem and we'll have to figure out what to do. Well, hello again. I am headed out to the hives to do an inspection. You can see that I am wearing my veil this time. I do have some tools with me. Here's my smoker. I also have a hive tool and a bee brush with me today. So last time I did not wear a veil. That's because I was putting the bees in the hives and they did not have a hive of their own to defend. They didn't have honey of their own to defend. Their queen had not been laying eggs and raising brood. So they were calm. They didn't have any reason to attack me. But now they've been in the hives for what, a little more than a week. About a week ago, no, I guess it was about 5 days ago, I did go in and release the queens out of their cages, and I apologize that I didn't get that on video. It was just a busy day. I didn't have time to get stuff together. I just came out real quickly and let them out. And that was easy. There wasn't much to it. Just they're in their cages with a little cork blocking the entrance, and I just took a pair of tweezers, pulled the cork out, the queen crawled out, and that was it. So not much to that, but we'll see how things go here today. We're going to check and see if the queens are laying eggs. They have been out of their cages now for, what did I say, about 5 days. They should be laying eggs. Maybe even some of the eggs have hatched into larvae at this point. It takes 3 days for an egg to hatch into larvae. We'll take a look and see what we can see. But now the bees are bringing in pollen and nectar. We do have blossoms. There's some dandelions. There's the plum trees. The honeyberry bushes and the apricot tree in my own yard are blossoming. So there's a potential that they could be more aggressive. I don't think that they'll be horribly aggressive, but they do have something to defend now. So I do have my veil on and we'll see what we can find. Okay, first of all, here is the feeder on top. I've refilled this with sugar syrup a couple of times, and remember that these hives did have honey in them already from last year's frames that I put back in. So I'm going to take this feeder off and we'll see what we have inside. Okay, first of all, we can see the pollen patty that I put in when I put the bees in the hive. They've been slowly taking it apart and putting it down in the cells to store it for the larvae to eat. That is their protein source for the larvae so that they can grow into adult bees. This was underneath this frame where I put the queen. And you can see that they're still clustered right here, but they're also all over along in these frames over here. So I'm going to start by taking this frame out and we will see what we can see. Okay, I'm trying to work this camera with one hand and get the frame out with the other. I clearly need to get a tripod or something, don't I? Okay, we're going to take a look at this frame right here. You can see that they've put pollen in some of these cells. If I hold it at an angle, can you see that shining in some of those cells there? That's where they've put the sugar syrup that they're essentially turning into sugar syrup honey. This wax is so white, it's hard to see if there are eggs in any of them. But we'll pull out another frame here and see what we can see. Okay, now this is a frame from last year. And it's got honey in it, so it's kind of heavy. I'm going to rest it right here. Now, this wax, since it is from last year, is a little bit darker. And I can see, I don't know if you can see down into those cells, but there are some eggs in there. I don't see anything that's hatched into larvae yet. Look at the other side. Now look, there's a bee right there with pollen in its baskets on its legs. Oh, where'd it go? It's underneath. Can you see that right there? Let's see, what can we see here? Yep, I see some eggs in there also. So that's good. We've got a queen that is laying eggs. Now look at this one right here. Let's get the bees cleared out of the way and you can see this. That is a queen cup right there. When the bees want to make a new queen, they will make a cup like this. Because queen bees are larger than the other bees, they won't fit in the regular cells. So they make these queen cups, and I do not see an egg in there. Just because they make a queen cup doesn't mean that they're going to try to make a new queen. If they were trying to make a new queen, then that would mean that there was something wrong with the old one, or it would mean that they're going to swarm and part of our bees are going to leave. But I don't think that's the case. So they sometimes just make queen cups just to have them on hand, just in case they need them at some point. But I think that we're okay. We've got a queen that's laying eggs, so we're not going to disturb these bees anymore. All right, now we're going to take a look in the other hive and see what we've got going on over there. This is where I put the queen, so we're gonna move this pollen patty over. That's what a hive tool is for, doing whatever you need to scrape or move. Okay, here we are. We got that pollen patty moved out of the way. We're going to take a look under this frame right here. Pry it up. All right, here we see this frame of, you can see they've got pollen in a few of those cells. I don't see any eggs on this frame. We'll put it back in and we'll take a look at another one that had been there since last year. Okay, now on this frame you can see there's lots of pollen in there. I don't see any eggs in this frame, so we're going to go the other direction and see what we can see. Okay, now on this frame we're going to look straight down in those cells right there below the line of bees. And can you see what looks like a little grain of rice in the center of those cells? Those are bee eggs laid by the queen. So even though I have not found the queen here, I do know that she is here. And actually, let's look up a little bit. I'm going to blow these bees out of the way. If we look down in those cells, can you see there are some bees that have hatched out of eggs, larvae that look curled up in the cells. The worker bees will feed those larvae honey and pollen as they grow, until they fill up that entire cell. Then they'll cap it off with wax over the top while the larvae pupates into an adult bee. And after it emerges, it will no longer need to eat pollen because it won't be growing anymore. And it'll just be an adult, either drone or female worker bee. And here's a drone right here. Can you see it crawling across the frame? It's bigger, its eyes are bigger, right there on the edge. And right over here, can you see that bee with its head down? There are a few of them with their heads down in the cells. What they're doing down there is they're feeding the larvae. They're giving it and taking care of it, keeping it clean. Those bees are taking care of the larvae so that they can grow into adult bees. All right, our hives are looking good. We're gonna put these frames back, and we're going to see in a few weeks more bees emerge. Our population of adult bees is going to take off, and we're going to have a good year. Now, right now, we put in a bunch of bees that are adults at varying stages in their adult life. Some are old, some are young, but the old ones will begin dying off. Bees don't have a real long lifespan. So until these bees, these queens, get their eggs laid and then they raise them through the larval stage and into adults, our population of these hives is going to be declining until we get some new adult bees emerging from their cells and then going out to work. Once that happens, the populations of both hives will take off pretty quickly. But right now, this is always kind of a time when the population begins to dwindle for a few weeks until we get new bees going. So thanks for coming along with me to check the bees today. I'll come out again next week and we'll take a look and see how the larvae are growing and how the hives are progressing. See you later.